President says he did not break any law, but there are regulations around both receiving revenue and receiving foreign exchange. There are also the claims by Fraser, but then the reporting over the weekend by the Amabungani Centre for Investigative Journalism. They detail how this money was stolen from his farm in Limpopo. In fact, they go further to suggest that one of the people involved was a Namibian national who, in the end, was helped across the border into Namibia illegally. Julian Rademeyer is the director of the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organised Crimes Eastern and Southern Africa Research Observatory. Julian, good afternoon to you, and thanks for your time. We don't know exactly what happened at the farm, and we don't know how much money was taken. But how important is cash, and particularly cash in US dollars, for international crime syndicates?
Well, cash, US dollars are vital for international crime syndicates and for laundering. If you look at some of the estimates, and obviously because this occurs in a shadow underworld, it's very difficult to get accurate figures. But the estimates from the UN, at least, are that around 2 to 5% of global GDP is laundered annually, around 800 billion US dollars to 2 trillion US dollars. And the US $100 bill is certainly the most popular. Around 80% of US currency that's in circulation is in $100 bills. And certainly from, organized crime networks and drug networks in South America through Africa into Europe, the US dollar bill is the currency of crime.
I mean, I suppose it's the world reserve currency, recognized and accepted in many, many places. This is also why the Americans spend so much time and money tracking bank statements. They track bank transactions to make sure that money doesn't go to the wrong place. This is why they don't want you to do it in cash.
Exactly. And there's a global push and a move to follow illicit financial flows. We're seeing, increasing developments in South Africa to try and improve that. The Financial Action Task Force, however, in their most recent report was fairly critical, saying that while South Africa had a solid legal framework for combating money laundering and terrorism financing, there were significant shortcomings in implementing an effective system and following through on prosecutions, much of that related to state capture.
I would imagine under South African law, if you receive revenue, it doesn't matter where the revenue comes from, if you're in the business of, in this case, buying and selling and breeding game, and you make money from the sale of that game, an animal, you would have to declare that revenue. SARS wants to know what your income is, and you have to pay tax on that revenue.
Absolutely. And I know from other research I've done in the past that the game industry does work in large dollar transactions, but there are limitations imposed by South African Reserve Bank regulations as to how long you can keep currency. That applies to travelers, that applies to a range of other activities, money received through the course of tourism. And there are limitations on when that needs to be declared and when that actually needs to be converted into South African currency. There are also requirements for reporting to the Financial Intelligence Center, all of that. So I think that, this does raise some very serious concerns. I think the key questions here are, what did the president know? When did he know it? When was this money received? And how long was it held on to for? And there are also obviously limits as to how much currency can be kept.
I mean, I would also think that if you receive US currency, a large amount of it, we understand, we don't know the amount, and it gets stolen, you would still go to the Reserve Bank so that they know this money's in the country.
Yes, absolutely, and that is a requirement. And we have very strict, foreign exchange controls in this country. So on the books, the laws are very strict. I think, often when it comes to illicit financial flows and foreign exchange control regulations, it's about the implementation of those laws and the follow-through. So in this particular case, I think there's an extremely urgent need for an investigation by the Reserve Bank, by the South African Revenue Service, the Financial Intelligence Center, whether elements of that were flagged, and whether this is the only transaction of its kind, or is there a pattern that's ongoing here.
A key issue here, I mean, and the president says this is the sale of game. He says he's in this industry, and that often it's by a sort of EFT. You send the money you send the money basically to someone's bank account, or it's in cash. I still don't understand why someone would drive around the country carrying US dollars. Who knows? It might get stolen from your couch.
Exactly. It seems to be an extremely high-risk issue, and in this case, obviously it was. So why would you keep it for an extended period of time? And if the stories are true that it was stashed on the couch, seems to be, something that people's grandparents did back in the day, is putting money in the mattress. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. I think there needs some investigation of the source of these funds. What was the point of storing it? Arthur Fraser claims that this was money laundering. Money laundering would, by its very nature, imply that these were the proceeds of unlawful activity. So where did this money come from? Was it from a sale of game, as the president says, or was there something more to it?
There's another issue, and I think we're right to focus to an extent on the legal issues around the president broke the law, whether he reported it to SARS and the Reserve Bank. There is, it seems to me, and maybe I'm just a voter, but it seems to me that there is a moral question as well around whether a person who's a sitting president, a head of state, who declares that they're on a campaign to renew the governing party, to stop corruption, may actually have a higher duty to report any kind of crime that they come across.
Absolutely. The president has pushed an agenda that he's attempting to clean things up, so that he's anti-corruption. I think the most disturbing aspect of this is certainly what appears to be a cover-up, an off-the-books investigation, interactions with a foreign state around these that again seem to have occurred quietly through back channels. No transparent investigation. The Mail and Guardian was reporting that Namibian journalists were made aware as early as June 2020 of allegations around a suspect involved in a theft of 50 million rand from the president's farm. It seems an awfully long time to keep this quiet.
And the Prevention of Organised Crime Act, how does that fit into all of this?
So the Prevention of Organised Crime Act would be the act in terms of which, potentially if there was money laundering activity going on, that could be prosecuted. It sets out a number of elements to expand upon that crime as the proceeds of organised crime. So again, I think it very, very much the elements of the crime that we're looking for is, were these proceeds of unlawful activities.